Hello world! In this video I want to show you 3 stopping techniques that I think will help the beginner skater. These are the drag stop, the basic power stop and the power slide. The drag stop is basically dragging one foot behind you to create friction with the road surface. This will ultimately slow you down and eventually bring you to a stop. To learn the drag stop, you first need to be comfortable with skating on one foot for a short period of time. Practice this first and try to alternate your feet. The basic position you want to adopt is like this. The foot you are dragging should be about 1 foot length behind you, with your toes pointing at about 80 to 90 degrees and your shoulders and head facing forwards. Be careful at first to not have your dragging foot right behind you, but slightly to the side, in a kind of L shape. This should stop you tripping. Now, at a slow speed, start dragging your foot behind you and see if you can slow down and stop. Most of your weight needs to be on your balancing foot, i.e. the foot pointing forwards. Try not to put too much weight onto the dragging foot to start with. If you can, practice by alternating your feet left and right. This will teach you the balance required on both sides of your body and also help with wheel wear. When you first start, until you get used to the balance required, you may find yourself drifting off to the side or losing control. Don't worry about this. As you get better and practice more, you will eventually be able to drag in a straight line. A common mistake when you are learning is to have your dragging foot too close to your front foot, which can cause you to trip. As mentioned earlier, ensure your dragging foot is at least 1 foot length behind you. So it's best to start out with most of your weight over your front foot, but as you progress you can start to shift more weight to the dragging foot, as this will help you slow down faster. This takes a little getting used to, but keep practicing and you will get it. The power stop in its simplest form is just a heavy carve. The technique I will break down here is what I call the basic power stop. I'll also cover the drag stop to power stop. Please note, there are more advanced versions of the power stop, but I hope the following breakdown is a place to start. So start out with wide turns from side to side. Try to keep your feet fairly close together when you do this. I like putting a cone out or something similar, as it gives you a focus point of where to turn. Practice until you feel comfortable on each side. The next progression is to start and turn a little sharper so that you come closer to the cone. A good way to practice alternate feet is to do this exercise in a figure of 8. As you start to turn more and more tightly, you may find you lose your balance a bit. Or, if you approach a bit too fast, you might slide out. Don't worry about this. Make sure you have adequate protection, keep practicing, and you will soon be okay. The next phase is to start and turn your inside foot towards the cone, while your outside foot continues in an arc around it. The inside foot points towards the cone, while the outside foot continues in its arc around the cone. Keep practicing this, and eventually you will naturally just start coming to a stop. This is what I refer to as the basic power stop. Your final body position will look something like this. You will be looking back in the direction you came from, and your feet will have a nice stable platform like this. The basic power stop. Once you have learnt the basic power stop, you can combine it with the drag stop. Using a cone as a reference point again, start to drag your outside foot behind you. Then as you approach the cone, turn your inside foot towards it and start to arc your outside foot around it. So drag the outside foot, turn and point the inside foot whilst arcing around the outside foot. This combined technique does require quite a lot of practice, and there is definitely an element of feel to it that is hard to describe. So keep practicing and eventually you'll get it, and you will have a super strong stopping technique. The power slide is basically a controlled slide that will bring you to a stop. There are two main parts to it: the transition to backwards and the slide to stop. Let's start with the transition to backwards. So I'm starting forwards, I then turn my body, followed by my first foot, and then my second foot, and I end up backwards. In more detail, I'm turning to my left, so my right foot is slightly in front of my left foot, in a scissored position. My shoulder then starts to turn to the left. My left foot then starts to lift and to face backwards. The right foot starts to lift and turns and also face backwards. I then turn my head to see where I'm going. In terms of weight distribution, to start with, weight is evenly distributed across both feet. As I start to turn to the left, weight goes into my right foot. It then transitions to my left foot, and then finally, weight is evenly distributed again across both feet. It's easier to practice this with a little momentum. Roll forward, transition, and backwards. Once you are happy transitioning and rolling backwards, we can then execute the slide to stop. So rolling backwards, lift and reach, slide to stop. In more detail, my feet are slightly scissored. I then lift my right foot and turn it to about 90 degrees. Place it down at an angle and then slide to a stop. In terms of weight distribution, as I lift my right foot, weight goes onto my left. As I place my foot down, I can start to put some weight back into my right foot, but not too much. In the end, I end up with weight fairly evenly distributed. Make sure you get a good stride in when you step back. At least 2 foot lengths should be okay. And make sure the angle of your foot with the floor is about 45 degrees or less, as this will help you slide. A common mistake is to have too short a stride, which will make you trip. So put a good stride length in. Now let's put the transition, roll and slide together. Keep practicing this technique and each time try to reduce the roll time so that eventually you just transition straight into the slide. The transition technique is the same, but instead of rolling, step back into the slide. Once you've put it all together, you have achieved a power slide. Remember to practice on both feet, and good luck.